Hey everybody, we're back with another comic book spoiler review, and today I will be covering Spider-Man 2099 issues 1 through 46. I'll try to cover as much as I can, but not everything, but try to get through the bulk of this uh long story. uh Back in like late 90s, early 2000s, Stan Lee uh you know started this uh new universe. Essentially, this was initially was like a different universe, like most of the other stuff that I was been reviewing so far, where the Marvel universe set in the future. It's kind of like the way like Batman Beyond was. This is essentially Spider-Man Beyond, and the first one was Ravager 2099, created by Stan Lee. So uh here you got Peter David, the artist, Rick Lenardi, who did most of the art here. Not all the art, but most of the art throughout this comic book run. Uh, uh, Marvel went to Peter David. It's like, okay, give us another thing set in the future, and so he created Spider-Man 2099, and this guy is named Miguel O'Hara, who's half Irish, half Mexican. In fact, his costume is based on Day of the Dead costume he worn, utilizing the same kind of material as the Fantastic Four. I mean, I guess it's like so readily available at this point in the future that, pretty sure it's still expensive, but, available for just, use for particular fabrics. And of course, this other characters based in the year 2099, which I will eventually get around to reviewing because I haven't not done so. I want my first 2099 review to be Spider-Man, because I actually have the first issue of this. I just never read through the rest to see what's going on after that. Didn't even realize it was 46 issues until like years later. But this is my second time going through the complete package here. And uh of course, this day and age, if you are familiar with 2099, I like to say I'm at least 80% sure that Marvel has kind of concluded that because Spider-Man 29 was such a big hit, they kind of set up to where the year 29 will be like the legit future of Spider-Man, or at least of the Marvel universe. And of course, in the Across the Spider-Verse movie coming out, it's gonna be like, okay, at least the way they're leaning towards, it's a different universe, not like the main. Well, obviously, it's not gonna be the main timeline for Miles Morales, but for Peter B. Parker, is usually like that is supposed to be his future. And there's been other, stories where Peter Parker met Miguel O'Hara, teamed up with him, and there's a video game based off that as well. But I love Spider-Man 2099. Miguel O'Hara is a very cool character, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be voiced by Oscar Isaac in the Across the Spider-Verse movie. Let me look. I'm pretty sure it's like I gotta check because I like. Yeah, Oscar Isaac. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be that. Oh, and you're also gonna have like uh yeah, Issa Rae as Jessica Drew Spider Woman, the black alternate version, and of course you got like Hobie Brown as Spider Punk. Uh, he's gonna probably have like a more major role. At least I didn't even know they're gonna lean into Spider Punk at all. I read a little bit of Spider Punk, but universe where it's like punk rock is like the go-to with like the whole world. Very, of that genre that people just embrace that to the nines, and it's like, I mean, cool concept and everything like that. Not necessarily my jam, but yeah. So yeah, you just can get like a decent picture of what like this universe is, or at least possible future is based on. So in this universe, in the future, all if you ever watch like any of the Judge Dredd movies, it's kind of like the world is built like that, where it's like maybe not like congested like those Mega City One kind of thing, but it's like corporations pretty much took over, and instead of normal police, you got what is called the public eye. It's kind of like a security force. If you can afford it, they'll help you out, but if you can't, then you're on your own. Same thing with like medical fields. Oh, speaking of which, like I said about the 2099 other heroes, they did like Doctor Doom, which is actually our Doctor Doom who traveled to the future kind of situation. That's part of the next 2099 thing I probably would check out, most definitely. I haven't read any of these stuff, but I really want to get to them though, because I'm too fascinated, because not everybody really enjoyed the other 2099 stories, other than maybe Doom and Spider-Man. We also got Ghost Rider 2099, Ravager, Hulk, X-Men, and Punisher. I read a little bit because it was like a short thing, so I'm fairly familiar with Punisher 2099, where this guy in the future who was part of the public eye found a journal left by the Punisher, who bequeathed his mission onto whoever finds this journal to continue his war on crime. Because I was indicating that Punisher actually probably got too old to do the job. He left everything to whoever finds this kind of stuff. I'm fairly interested. Nobody really, like I said, like other than Doom and Spider-Man 2099, nobody care for the other ones, but I'm still kind of interested in seeing like, okay, what is going on with them. Anyway, New York to some is called Nueva York, but it was, for the argument's sake, let's just say New York. Here, Miguel works for this conglomerate called Alchemax, which in the mainline comics you might hear the company's name said from time to time. Obviously, they're seeding. That's why I said, like, obviously, going to try to make 2099 the actual future. So they're seeding this stuff, along the way. Clearly, I can't help but think about it every time they say Alchemax. Where Miguel is, one of the head honchos in the pretty sure it's like R&D department or something like that, where they're running experiments on creating essentially like super soldiers. And if you wonder like where's like all the superheroes involved, by and large they're gone. It's just like around the same time as Spider-Man 2099 became like a like a big deal in the city. That's when like you see all this other stuff kind of guys start popping up relatively around the same time. But there's a thing called the Heroic Age, during a period that we know where the superheroes was like all over the place, but uh, is never spoken to. Is never really spoken openly about what happened that ended the heroic age. But there was like a event where Peter Parker met with Miguel O'Hara. They did like an adventure that possibly prevented the ultimate demise of the heroic age, but maybe now it's like, because timelines can be wonky and in flux, he never is assured about what might happen. Now it's like it'll still happen, but in like a very different way now, because the world that Miguel knows is still relatively there. I haven't read the story yet. Maybe some point in the future I will read that story, but from what I remember, nothing really changed all that much. But anyway, Miguel works for Alchemax, and he's getting nagged by this guy named Aaron, who's pretty much just jealous of Miguel. Miguel kind of, this is very different from Peter Parker. Miguel, is as smart, if not smarter, than Peter Parker. He's a bit arrogant. He's still like a decent person, but he's a bit arrogant. He gets that line about like great power, great responsibility. He thinks it's a little crock, but he eventually kind of falls into it on happenstance. There's a little bit of reference with the original Spider-Man here and there, but it's just like Miguel is just like, if you ever watch Yu-Gi-Oh, think of him like Seto Kaiba in a way. That's like the best way to like apply like your the personality and swagger of Miguel O'Hara. It's pretty much Seto Kaiba, that kind of personality in a way. Then he pulls up about like the Spider-Man program, pretty much trying to mess with people's DNA essentially, because he works for this guy named Tyler Stone, who's pretty much just like a this. It was kind of like it's kind of like in like the 80s evil corporate bad guy, but he talks sweet to you, but he's he can be ruthless when he wants to be. And so he convinces Miguel to go ahead with the human testing trials, but not using the Spider-Man program because they want to start small before we get to that point. So they decided to test on this guy who agreed to do this testing in order to, because he's like a prisoner, and in order to reduce the sentence or just get off free, kind of thing. He took his chances. So he decided to like, okay, we'll start off something small. We will just augment your strength, and we'll go from there. So he tweaked it. He goes to this kind of like this hyperbolic time chamber egg thing, and as they're opening it up, Miguel checking on the guy. It's like, you okay, sir? You might feel like a weird sensation, but that's normal. And then all of a sudden, this prisoner who seemed like a very sweet guy, it turns like a grotesque like thing. And yeah, he has strength, but he's darn near about to choke out Miguel until he just collapses and dies. So Tyler and Aaron is like, you're not too phased by a loss of life, but Miguel is like, if it's gonna be like this with all other human trials, I don't want to be a part of it. So he decided to put in his resignation with Tyler. Tyler trying to convince him to stay on board. It's like, look, we'll start off slow. We don't want to abandon this project, but we'll take it slow. And it was like, you know, don't have to quit on me. But Miguel was like, you know, stern on it. Like, I do not want to be a part of this no more. I can't. So he, out trying to wish him farewell, he presents Miguel with a drink of alcohol, and he brings up that, you know, like, well, Miguel said, well, now after I quit, I feel a little bit more relaxed now. And Tyler was like, well, that's probably the rapture I just gave you. Like the what? And of course, rapture is pretty much like this universe's, you know, drug of the time, and it's a very severe kind of drug that to be addicted on. Once you're on it, you can't cure it, and it's hard to kick it. Essentially, you can't help but want more of it just to get the edge off. It's like the worse than probably cocaine and meth combined. Essentially, is what he's depicting this rapture to be. So, and Alchemax is the only source to produce, because like I guess most people working for Alchemax is already on it, but they're the number one source for it. So you have to stay in order to get supplied. Of course, he mentioned like you can go to the black market, but like, you know, often can't do that, and plus how expensive that will be, that kind of thing. So he tells him like, go take the day off. I'll see you back Monday. Don't try to fight the rapture. It can be pretty nasty. And of course, he goes home. You meet Dana, his girlfriend, and of course you also meet Lila, pretty much his AI Siri of the time, who's pretty much looked like Marilyn Monroe. And I love Lila in this. She just like a very sassy, you know, not dry humor, but it's like a matter of fact kind of humor. You'll see why in a little bit. But he, you know, comes home, he's like bugging out, seeing things. Dana's trying to come over to cover him. He, you know, wigs out, hits her, giving her essentially a black eye by accident. But you know, she understands once he explained that he got hooked on that stuff. Tyler slipped him that stuff in a drink. So he tried to come up with a he sneaks back in to the company. He got the idea of, okay, I save my DNA in order onto the file in Alchemax in order to test out certain things and see how they react to certain things you can add to it as another form of a test. So what he planned on doing is, okay, I am going to get my original DNA before all this mess and apply it to my body, essentially replacing the affected raptured genome with my healthy cells, and so that way I can like get out of here and not like worry about like Tyler Stone anymore. But Aaron, skulking around, sees this and just completely sabotages Miguel's plans, and hopefully kill him or turn to some kind of freak. He included the Spider-Man program into the mix, and now you got Spider-Man 2099. But it's a little disorienting at first because if you play Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, the Spider-Man 2099 parts, like most iterations of Spider-Man, there's always some kind of thing that's uniquely tailor-made for them specifically. Miguel doesn't have a spider sense, but he has accelerated vision, where kind of like, you know, telescopic vision in a way. You see that in the gameplay when you play in Shattered Dimensions, where he's like doing those free falls. You're able to like see where things are as you're trying to maneuver around them. And of course, they are not totally familiar with how Spider-Man powers worked. So, you know, the whole climbing walls thing. Now he has claws on his talons on his fingers and toes to help him crawl on walls. And of course, you know, he has to learn to, he learned eventually to retract them, but they automatically retract whenever he touches his own skin. He makes a comment like, oh, thank God, because going to the bathroom might be an adventure. But he also has fangs, which has, you know, that can inject like a paralyzing agent into whoever he bites, kind of like a spider, and most spiders do. And of course, he has organic webbing himself, which he discovers accidentally by fighting a wannabe Kraven the Hunter, which we'll get into soon. And of course, he's a little disoriented, but Aaron thinks he's some kind of monster and thinks he's going to attack him. Starts shooting at him, causing like a breach against the wall, explosion. Aaron's holding on to dear life while Miguel's trying to get his bearings. He's trying to help him up, despite, you know, Aaron trying to kill him. It's like, I'm not going to let you die. But of course, he doesn't realize he has talons on his fingers yet. He was ripping up his skin, forcing Aaron to fall to his death. Realizing, like, oh my God, like, I turned to a freak, and he thinks he's gonna, he decides, oh, okay, I'm just gonna have to just kill myself. I can't live like this. He dives off the side of the building, but then he has a change of heart, and then sticks to the side of the wall and climbs up. And he sees this religious zealot called Thorite, where there, you know, these religious people who worship the second coming of Thor. And like, you see, like, he's using this like hang glider thing, like, hear ye, Thor is coming. Remember, Thor is coming. And he lands on this guy, and he asks, like, who the shock are you? And by the way, if you watch Batman Beyond, you hear like the term called sway as the slang of the future. Shock is the slang of this future, and I am shocked that we're not using these words, because technically we are in the future or present, you know, point of view. It's like, why are we not using words like what the shock or sway a lot more in this day and age? So Thor asks him, like, who the shock are you? And he's like, you know, oh, I could be you know, Santa Claus, Spider-Man, you take your pick. Spider-Man, the harbinger of Thor is here. And so he, you know, they crash land safely, relatively safely, to the ground. And he gives him a piece of his hang glider cloth. That's like, here, Spider-Man must be masked. And so Miguel heads home, and it's like a funny one with Lila after he has a moment to sleep, where he's trying to sit in the dark because, you know, bright lights kind of like bother him because the, you know, the heightened vision. Lila said like, "Oh, there's like 400 different variations of my program image that you haven't tried yet." It's like, okay, this uh, go through them, and one of them is like a punk rocker. Other is pretty much Alfred. The third one is pretty much Aunt May. It was like, okay, kill that one. And it's like, oh dear. It's like, maybe like, make you some brownies, dear. It's like I worry about you so much. And it's like not having that. Pretty much, it's like poking fun of Spider-Man that we know Spider-Man to be. Uh, while back at the uh uh back at Aquamax, they're investigating what transpired at the lab. Of course, Miguel removed all traces of him entering the building. He's that level smart. Not many people. He points out not many people know this, how to do this. So all they know is Aaron's the only one that went in and causes utter destruction. But I mentioned about that janky version of Kraven the Hunter. You got this cyborg named what's his doggone name? One second. Sorry. Venture. Pretty much like just like a cowboy cyborg, something like, there's a lot of moments here that kind of feels like you're watching Cowboy Bebop a little bit. It's very akin to that. He's a Cowboy Bebop character, and he's hired by Tyler Stone to track down who was responsible. And he finds like images and heat signatures that he's tracking down to bring back to Tyler. And while at home talking with his brother Miguel, talking with his brother Gabriel, who has like a cool arc throughout this story as well. He rushes him out when he realizes, like, Hunter, thanks to his accelerate vision, he realized down below, he notices Venture skulking around, and it's like, oh my god, they hired Venture. He's gonna trace me all the way up here, and the jig will be up. So he decided to wear his Day of the Dead costume as his signature costume. Of course, there's other times when he upgraded to like a more like a white version of the costume, but people remember the blue and red. It has to still have some kind of blue and red kind of thing. Well, it says, they point out black because of course the shades looks blue, but they point out in the story is black and red. But so thanks to the material the made from the same stuff the Fantastic Four uses, he isn't able to cut through it with his talent, so he can be able to wear this and eventually get other clothes that had the same material inside, so that way he won't just shred his clothes by accident. Of course, he learns how to retract his claws, but still he doesn't want to run into any problems. So he jumps out the window and starts attacking Venture. Now, Miguel's never been into an actual fight before, so he doesn't know how to actual fight. Unlike Venture, who's not like a martial artist, but he's been in combat before, so he knows how to handle himself. And Miguel is flying by the seat of his pants for the most part. And with this fight with Venture, he discovers about his organic webbing, and I think this is like an issue with like the artist here, because majority of the time you see him shoot out his webs through the forearm, but every once in a while you see him shoot out webbing the typical way you see Spider-Man do it through this end, and it's like you're never consistent with that. I thought it was weird. I think it's I don't know, it just felt right for him to just come out of his forearm to make it, because not many Spider-Man variants have webs come out of the forearm that often. So he fights Venture and decides to, like, while fighting, like I said, he's very smart. While fighting, okay, I got to take him along the same route that I took, so that way as if he tried to backtrack again, he'll just end up going through the same spot that I just went through. So that way he's trying to avoid him to possibly suspecting Miguel O'Hara as Spider-Man. So, and it's like a funny moment with Lila, like I mentioned. It's like he's passing through his room again. Lila's like, "Hey, Miguel." It's like, "Lila, there'll be somebody coming past through. This ain't like, the maniac in black just left out the window. Got it? Good girl, Lila." And he jumps out the window. Venture comes too. Lila says, "The maniac in black went out the window. Got it? Good girl, Lila." It's like, oh my god, it was so freaking, that made me laugh so freaking hard. I love that. Oh my god, it was so freaking funny. Lila's the best. There is like a moment with Lila. It was like some kind of mini arc with her, but they don't really fully explore, but it's some kind of like outside interference kind of situation. But after dealing with Venture, Tyler decides to check up on Miguel, mostly to see like how he is on the Rapture situation. Of course, he lies to, like, I found like a guy kind of situation, but he wants to bring he still wants Miguel back, and Miguel wants to keep an eye on things. He's like, yeah, I'll be there, kind of thing. But once there, Miguel ends up getting taken hostage, ironically, by Gabriel's girlfriend, who's pretty much like a kind of rebel freedom fighter type of thing, fighting against like the oppression, of like the public eye and corporate goons and stuff like that. And of course, you want to hear some messy stuff here? Dana, Miguel's girlfriend, used to be Gabriel's girlfriend. She left him for his brother. And at the time, who we'll eventually see later on, Miguel already had like a girlfriend named Zena who helped him build Lila when he moved into this apartment. So it was all kinds of messy. I was like, this dude is definitely not Peter. So uh uh what is this? Casey, that's the Gabriel's current girlfriend's name. Casey ends up taking Miguel hostage because Gabriel was worried about her because people were after her because this samurai from the Stark Fujikawa company. Fujikawa, if you don't recall from old Iron Man stories, is a Japanese company that wanted to work with Stark International, or Stark, didn't want to do it. He ironically had like a thing with the head honcho's daughter for a little while, but because the only reason I remember it because her last name was Fujikawa, and for some reason I don't know why that lady stuck in my mind after all these years. There's only one story I read her from, and I'm pretty sure she showed them in other stuff here and there, but it's like there's only one story I remember this girl from. He was dealing with the controller at the time, and it's like I don't know why that girl stuck with me after all these years. So when I first read this comic, that's probably why, because the first I read the first 2099 Spider-Man comic and saw that name, I was also reading at the same time because I actually had that book still in my box in my closet. Fujikawa was hanging with Stark while he's trying to go through like rehab and stuff like that, but the rehab he went to was being controlled by the controller. Anyway, so trying to rescue Gabe's girlfriend, he's dealing with that samurai from the Fujikawa people, and it becomes like a whole bigger mess where Casey gets a thing for Spider-Man, and she later assumes that Gabriel is Spider-Man, but obviously he eventually debunked that. But Gabriel eventually ends up getting like aggravated at Miguel because like he lost two girlfriends to other guys, one to Spider-Man and the other to his own brother. Oh, you talking about messy? Their mother is all kinds of freaking messed up. It's like she should have easily been like the Kingpin's mother, the way how ruthless she can be. And she was literally in like a psychiatric ward kind of thing. She cannot stand Miguel. She later has some kind of, there's layers to that, but she's just like, through her own trauma, she's taking it out on Miguel and clearly like favoring Gabriel. But after the fight with the whole situation with the samurai, he fall to the lower depths. It's kind of like the Jetsons, where it's like the high rise of the city that we got to know so far. The lower depths of New York is old downtown. What probably New York to be currently. That is old downtown, and where like the dregs of the street live, or the lower class live. And Spider-Man lands down there, severely hurt. He ends up getting nursed by this Thorite, who then gets, then he ends up getting chased by these, criminals who are like discount public eye goons, but ends up getting rescued by the Vulture 2099. Essentially, well, you could say Venture is his first super villain, but I personally think because Peter Parker, his first super villain was the Vulture, so it is only right that Spider-Man's first super villain will be Vulture, but just Vulture of the future. And this Vulture, like the Vulture in the Noir universe, is a cannibal. And of course, Spider-Man deals with him and everything like that. just to get out of that mess. And in the sort of fight, he seemingly falls to his death. Then there was like this cyber attack with this digital being that Gabriel once dealt with years ago in like I guess like a mini story that I'm vaguely familiar with, and he ended up beating it, but he comes back. He kind of looks like Mr. Nobody from the Doom Patrol, but instead of blockiness, it's like all in like ribbon format. The way he looks, and he's sabotaging like all the digital things because everything is running on like all kinds of digital format, and everything just, there's no analog, barely, that people are utilizing. And this is also affecting Lila to where it's like essentially it's kind of like trying to keep Miguel safe, or to herself in a way, because it's like falling for Miguel, and she goes bonkers on him. But it's gotten so bad where now he's, after this AI guy is like dealt with, he goes to his ex-girlfriend Xena, who made the program in the first place, bring her back. Gabriel's like, why can't you just start over with a new one? It's like, no, I want Lila. I want my Lila. Because clearly it's like some, on a subconscious level, I'm not a therapist, but it's clearly on some subconscious level, it would, the love he had for his ex, he wanted to keep that, he wanted to keep that alive, and that is Lila. And it's like he doesn't want to accept any substitutes, which I thought was kind of sweet. So what else? Another stories going on. At one moment, uh 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 Gabriel's girlfriend gets kidnapped once again, put in this like janky version of an Iron Man suit. At first I thought it was like, okay, you gonna pretty much gonna make her into like her own superhero. Doesn't pan out that way. It's just like a one and done little moment. But after he's trying to set her up, essentially Tyler is pretty much organizing the entire thing. But Gabriel, trying to stop him, fails and gets beat up by the public eye goons. When Miguel finds out, he is livid. And of course his mom finds out. He sees her entering Tyler Stone's home, and he overhears that the father that he was raised by, a father who's pretty much like, an abusive father, essentially, wasn't really his father. Tyler Stone is actually Gabriel and Miguel's father. Her and him and Miguel's mother had a thing before, and resulted in like the birth of Miguel and Gabriel. Who knows? It's never fully explained that if the father that raised the boys knew. If he did know, it would explain why he was just so like cruel to them. But that blew Miguel's mind, and that's just sitting with him it hit him hard to the point where he just had to get he and Xena just went out. 1 second. Uh, he and Miguel went out of the city for a while. They on this little mini adventure with like a former cop of the public eye that kind of like got, you know, booted by Tyler Stone for disobeying orders and turned some kind of monster creature from this person that Miguel and Xena knew in their childhood. The whole thing. Uh, uh, but uh, it was like he was dealing with like some very serious stuff. But after dealing with those demons, he went back and then uh um then things deteriorate between Miguel and Dana, where she's starting to like spend a little bit too much time with Tyler. With, like I said, this is the most messy stuff in such a short 46 issue adventure here. It gets freaking messy here. You know, Spider-Man's life was messy. This doesn't reach the same heights that Miguel's hooking up with his own brother's girlfriend behind his back, and his mom banged his own boss that turned out to be his actual father. Like, what? We also get the introduction of like Doom, Doom Ravager and Punisher a little bit when dealing with this little adventure with Alchemax, presenting this thing called, like, not the Bifrost, but Valhalla program, and it released these guys that he one of them claiming to be Thor, not actually Thor. We all know who Thor looks like, and this is clearly not Thor, but it was like this other kind of probably like a tie-in, bigger adventure kind of comic, a 2099 comic with all these guys working together. But I haven't read that part, but it's clearly like tying into that. But it could have got wrapped up in some fashion. Doom, who eventually somehow, probably in his own comic, became president of the United States and tries to hire Spider-Man to be part of his cabinet, essentially. Uh, there's also a moment where like they're dealing with 2099 Venom. The Venom symbiote was like discovered, tied up in like a sewer thing. Because Tyler Stone's actual son, who was like a childhood bully of Miguel, got a hold of the symbiote. It was like a whole thing where who's like who's Venom now, and we all suspected it was Gabriel, the way like certain things was kind of red herrings, but they finally stopped Venom, but not before Venom inadvertently killed Dana. So this really set Gabriel off on a deep end, because he ends up turning into Green Goblin of 2099. So the drama in Spider-Man comics, if done right, it gets like really good. Um, of course, you know, uh, Miguel later suspects Gabriel being like the Goblin, but all the while dealing with Namor of 2099 trying to flood the city, like most Atlantis type of stories in Marvel and DC. But this guy worshipped the original Namor and took up his mantle, and you know, Spider-Man deals with that. But he ends up taking over Alchemax after Tyler Stone gets shot by his mother, Miguel's mother. But in the ensuing battle with Atlantis, uh, uh, Miguel's mother dies from a stray bullet, and Tyler Stone uh, dies as well. So it was like, oh my god, it's now he lost, you know, both parents essentially. But I mean, yeah, I mean, you got to read through this entire thing. It's like I'm just highlighting key moments here, but it's like, you know, some cool story arcs here. Of course, there might be a few issues here and there that's not like, you know, that might not you might not gravitate so hard on. There is a moment where you get to meet like uh Doctor Strange of 2099. Clearly, Stephen Strange became like an ancient one and mentored this. I'm pretty sure she's like a Mexican woman to be the next Sorcerer Supreme, and she pretty much got this whole uh biker thing going on. But she's supposed to be like the next like Doctor Strange, not Doctor Strange, but the next Sorcerer Supreme. We only get a little bit with her. I don't think she has her own story, but it would be cool to at least explore that a little bit. This is when like Miguel and Gabe is, you know, spending time uh in Mexico for the Day of the Dead. Um, but oh my god, you know, like I grew to just love Spider-Man 2099. This is like a fun story. Um, but yeah, the next one will be Spider-Gwen going to another universe, and you talk about like, oh, man, there's some good stuff in there, like Evil Daredevil. Uh, I just want to point that out, Evil Daredevil. So stay tuned. Probably in a couple of weeks, I will get into reviewing Spider-Gwen. So anyway, if you read Spider-Man 2099, let me know what you think of the character and the world he's in. Do you think this is an actual feature? Because I imagine if the year 2099 comes up for real in real life, I think the mainline comics should be 2099 versions of the characters that we know. Captain America 2099, Iron Man 2099, so on. That's how I feel. But let me know how you feel about the 2099 future slash universe, and what future variants do you want to see Marvel tackle. And don't forget to follow me on the links in the description. It's like YouTube, my Twitter, Twitch. Check out my Patreon where you can see my affordable cheap tier listing, where you can choose which one is better fit for you, where you can put in like a request for certain TV shows, general topics, or movies that you want me to, or comics that you want me to check out. Then I will put on the list and put it on Patreon first as early access for you guys and give you a nice shout out. But anyway, I will check you out. I'll be back probably a little bit tonight, a little later tonight, playing a little bit of Forspoken. uh but tomorrow, because I didn't get a chance to do it today because I'm a little still congested, so I'm gonna wait till tomorrow evening before I put up my chaotic lore video, my new one that I gotta put off for a day, because I normally put out on every other Thursday, but I don't feel comfortable doing it the way my voice is right now. So I want to make sure it's like, you know, decent for people to hear. So tomorrow evening, I'll have my new chaotic lore video up for you guys. But anyway, I will see you guys soon. Take care, and let's try to get this video to like 100 likes. And yeah, if we get my subscribers up to 100, I will be doing like a Hot Woods challenge video. As I mentioned before, as another milestone, I will get like the Hot Ones hot sauces and try them out as while I'm answering you guys' questions that you might have. I thought that might be fun, so cool milestone. And yeah, let's try to get those numbers up. I'll see you guys in a little bit.